Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. Today I'm going to do something kind of different, and hopefully it'll be the future of some other kinds of videos. I didn't realize until like late yesterday that it was the 20th anniversary of the film Ghost World, which was directed by Terry Zwigoff and written by Daniel Klaus, and also based on the graphic novel that Daniel Klaus wrote. So July 20th, 2001 was when that came out. So I can just start showing stuff. I got a lot of stuff to show, I suppose. Here's one of my DVD copies. There's another one. I can't remember what the difference on this one. This one has more features, actually. Deleted scenes, making a featurette. I don't remember which one I got first. I'm pretty sure I got this one first. This is the one that most people know it for, but this is like more of like the graphic novel cover. Yeah, this came with some extra inserts and stuff, like a book and stuff. So I think this might have been like an anniversary edition. Maybe it was the 10-year anniversary, or I don't know, or the anniversary of the graphic novel. Graphic novel came out on June 1st, 1995. I was looking that up too, which I'm going to show some of that stuff soon. Yeah, this includes the graphic novel, like an extra graphic novel. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I'm going to talk about just in a few minutes here, but there's the Seymour character. So, the film Ghost World happens to be 8-Ball Comics. I'm like an ad for some of the... well, it happens to be, and apologies, I've got some people working outside. Happens to be, it more or less has become my favorite movie ever. You know, I mean, I have a sort of a large sentimental and childhood connection to The Wizard of Oz, so I guess by default I consider I look at The Wizard of Oz, but just in terms of just rewatchability, quotability, relatability in a lot of ways. This is it. I love tons of other films, of course. Like I said, I'm sort of a film fanatic, independent film included. But the truth is, so this came out July of 2001. I didn't see it right away. I didn't ever heard about it at that point, I don't believe. But one connection was Terry Zwigoff, the director, did direct Crumb, which I had seen probably on IFC a few different times in the late 90s or early 2000s, around that time. It stars Thora Birch and, Scarlett Johansson, which is looking at the age. Scarlett Johansson was only 15 years old through most of the making of this movie. Thora Birch is a little older. Of course, it also has Steve Buscemi, which, admittedly, Steve Buscemi is my favorite still part of this movie. Is probably the reason why I love this movie so much. I love all the characters, but he's sort of the largest, most relatable, and he won a Golden Globe for it, I think. I don't know if he got nominated for an Academy Award, but he did win a Golden Globe for supporting, I think, for it. At least he got nominated. I think he might have won. I should know that too. I have it pulled up right here. No, he got him and actually, my bad. Him and Thora Birch did get nominated for a Golden Globe for this, for Best Actress. They both got nominated, but neither of them won. And looking at it, yeah. Spirit Awards, though. The Independent Spirit Awards in 2002, Buscemi and Daniel Klaus and Zwigoff won. The sad thing is that was like the peak of the period when I was watching this Independent Spirit Awards, and I don't even remember that. So, fast forward, I don't know how long. It came out in July of 2001. I subscribed to this independent film channel. It might have been even before. It might have been 99 when I first was living on my own. Maybe even been earlier than that. But at least by 99, I did subscribe to that. And so I believe I ended up seeing this multiple times on the independent film channel. But it had to have been 2002, 2003, 2004, in that range, and I was absolutely floored. The sad thing is I've never seen this movie in the theater. It has been rescreened a few different times in the Twin Cities. I didn't see it. So, I bought the DVD, of course, like this, and I bought, and I just got more and more into it. I read about it, and so eventually, of course, I can show. I did buy the CD, the soundtrack. I'm going to talk more about how the soundtrack per se, but here's the CD soundtrack, and here's just shots from the movie and stuff like that. Of course, the whole write-up and everything, which I bought this much later, though. I think I probably bought this about 10 years ago. And then my wife and I did a record store day video a couple of years ago. Oops. And it was a record store day item, press the soundtrack on vinyl, which I did show then, and I know it was in limited pressing too. I don't know. My wife really enjoys this movie and would like to get the soundtrack as well, but I was sort of the priority and has the Ghost World, some of the Ghost World references in the story from the graphic novel, and I'll show it again. I believe it's blue. Yeah, clear blue. It's neat looking. Side 1, side 2, you know. The thing about I can say about, just before I get all into more of the details of the movie and why it's more details of the movie. Scarlett Johansson and Thora Birch, but Scarlett Johansson I had personally seen before I'd ever seen this. In fact, it might even before the movie I think I saw her. She was in The Horse Whisperer, but the movie I think of her the most for is this movie called Manny and Lo, which I probably caught around the same time this movie came out. But she was much younger. She was maybe 11, 12. She and this other girl are like sort of, they're not orphans, but their parents basically gave them up or they escaped. I can't remember the exact origin, but they're living basically together. Her older sister is 17 and she's pregnant. She doesn't realize she's pregnant anyway. It's a funny sort of independent film, comedy, drama, you know, but Scarlett Johansson was really good in that. She's good in Horse Whisperer, and she'd done some other things, but then it kind of hit me like, that's the same girl from Ghost World, you know, or that's the same girl from Manny and Lo. And she was only 15. So the other thing I should probably show, and like I was just saying, you know, the start of kind of the thing is, I became, after seeing the movie many times, and then understanding it was based on a graphic novel, I got more information about who wrote the screenplay. I got the graphic novel. I got multiple. There's multiple. I've collected them over the years. This is one of the originals, and then there actually was a first printing, like a promotional or a, what do you call it? Like a demo or promotional version of this. The first pressing being sold at Half Price Books. I saw in Northwestern Metro. I can't remember what it might have, like Northtown's Half Price Books. That they wanted probably north of $200 at least for, and I would have liked to have gotten that, but you know, as a realist and a budget-conscious person, I couldn't do it. That was probably like right after our wedding. I don't know, but money has always been very conscious of something I've done. But so the thing I'll say about this is that it's a great story. The actual movie. The movie versus the graphic novel, there are definitely a lot of differences, and I haven't read the graphic novel in a long time. And of course, this is like the expanded version of it, the special edition. And it's like Daniel Klaus did a lot of extra stuff for this. Daniel Klaus, I'll just say that he is much kind of following in the footsteps of R. Crumb in some ways. And I'm not like huge into that kind of stuff, like pop culture. And R. Crumb, I'd like the documentary series Wyckoff did, but it doesn't surprise me that, you know, he would have done a documentary on Crumb and then end up working with Daniel Klaus. It's not about superheroes and, you know, Cape Crusaders and all that kind of stuff. It's about people, or like sort of archetypes of people in society, American society largely. Although Crumb ended up living in France at some point. He moved to France, but Crumb was very political, very overt, and Klaus is to an extent, but his characters aren't, they're more relatable, more grounded in reality, I think, at points than Crumb. But I haven't read Crumb's like extensive work. I just know the stuff in that documentary, and they talk about how sort of progressive or, how he was very much exposing a lot. But, there's more in this special edition, and it includes the screenplay too, as you can see. But the thing I'm just trying to get at, like, the Seymour character is a huge part of the movie. The Seymour character that Buscemi plays. He's just in, like, a little bit of this. And then they explore more about the Josh character, who's their friend. They have him in the movie to an extent, and they actually do a lot more on that couple that Enid thinks are Satanists. But, it's part of it's the sarcastic sort of observational humor. In the movie, for example, the Seymour character is a huge deal to me. He's a record collector. Now, granted, he was like in his middle age. At the point I saw this, I was in my early 20s. But sort of he was like, anti-establishment, anti-sort of like social sex, counterculture, and sort of like, I don't have to be like you. I do my own thing, Granted, he's also sort of lacking in, as he says, he hasn't been in a relationship in like 3 years, and, he doesn't have the highest level of self-esteem, and I could admit that a lot of my sort of activities and social activities and, romantic pursuits were sort of, it was definitely sort of relatable and escapist and sort of speaking to me. Like, it speaks to many people. His taste in music, and the Enid character's taste in music. I like the East Indian music that they use. Is it East India? I think it is. Yeah, the Bollywood sort of soundtrack in this. But the punk thing, and that's funny. There's just a million quotable lines, It's like, I hate my interests. Why would I want to date anyone who has the same interests as me? I hate my interests. Have some more kids, why don't you? Or slow motion, There's 100 quotable lines in this. It's like, that's part of what, makes a great screenplay and a great film. You want to rewatch it, and I don't know, I probably should have jotted down, like 100 bullet points here. I just was celebrating the 20-year anniversary of my favorite movie. I mean, Napoleon Dynamite, I would say, that is the movie that came out after this that sort of exposed and explored and covered a lot of that. Before you could say Beavis, but sort of anti, not capitalism exactly, but somewhat. But it's also sad. Ghost World also is very melancholy. I don't get the impression as much about the graphic novel. That's why the film and the graphic novel and the screenplay was written by Daniel Klaus, but he also, of course, wrote the graphic novel, and they're different for good reason. I'd say that, being a Daniel Klaus fan, and I will intend to make at least one, maybe 2 or 3 more videos about Daniel Klaus. He has done that a couple of times with movies that were adapted from his graphic novels, where he didn't want to basically remake the graphic novel altogether on screen. He wanted to kind of reinterpret the story, reimagine the story. Someone else could have done that. Another graphic novelist I really like is Brian K. Vaughan, which unfortunately he hasn't been as involved in the screenplays for some of his adaptations. But he was like a consultant and stuff like that. So yeah, my intention is to at least definitely do another video about all the other graphic novels that Daniel Klaus has done. But Ghost World still remains the peak. Now I'll say that one of the ones he did was Art School Confidential, which was also a graphic novel that I don't believe I actually have. As much as I love him, I don't think I've ever tracked it down. I don't go on my way looking for this stuff, but when we go to Half Price Books, I got most of these at Half Price Books, as you can see. They'll have them, and so I'll look for them at Half Price Books. I've found many of them. My wife has bought some for me when she was working at Barnes & Noble. She got some for me, so I've collected many of his graphic novels, but I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think I have Art School Confidential, but that was adapted, and it was kind of considered a quasi-sequel, and I think Buscemi actually does make a cameo in it. It's not as good. I have it on DVD. When I do more on DVDs, or do more on Klaus, maybe I'll try to show that. But, yeah, I don't think this is the standard version. I showed that earlier. Yeah, this is just the standard version. But, it's kind of a sequel. And then, he did some others, but I'll say this. There's definitely among his graphic novels, they're not hit and miss exactly. But there's one specific one that I love also. Not as much as this, but I love a lot of, that I would love for them to adapt to to a movie. But I mean, it could be the whole thing where, you know, was Our School Confidential probably didn't turn out to be as good as the graphic novel was, and so does he want to do it again? Now, he did it with Wilson, which was filmed here, and I actually met Woody Harrelson. And I can't say that the movie was, you know, any worse. It might have been about on par. In this case, I'm not sure. I kind of would still lean toward the movie because it's in real life and it has more on Seymour and Steve Buscemi, but there's still a boatload of just highly loved things about this story. You know, it's like you can see that a lot of the characters are still in here. But again, you know, if you've never read the graphic novel and only seen the movie, seek it out, or vice versa, you know, so. But thank you for watching. What's your take on Ghost World? Happy 20th anniversary. Have you seen the movie? If you haven't, just check YouTube. There's one of those like 11 video clips of the different, you know, it doesn't include the whole movie, but it's very much, you know, the whole anti-establishment, sort of anti-expectation, sort of, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, have kids, blah, 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 blah. You know, none of the characters in this, none of the main characters in the movie followed that path, and I can relate to that to an extent. And, you know, I mean, Steve Buscemi, Thora Birch, I don't think they've done anything better. I love Steve Buscemi. You know, they've done other good works. Thora Birch was very good in American Beauty, but I think she stood out even more in this. But anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. One other point I wanted to make about Ghost World is that, and I did find my copy of Wilson, but I'll talk about that more in another video. It is written from Daniel Klaus's perspective, even though the lead character Enid is a woman. It was like sort of there's a lot of it's not understood misinformation about that. You think, well, it had to have been written by a woman, or, you know, no, it's the character. A lot of the character, you know, is from, you know, Klaus's sort of introverted perspective. Introverted is not the right word. Sort of, you know, counterculture, sort of, you know, anti sort of expectation, not antisocial exactly, perspective, but it didn't seem to matter. And actually, I was reading an interview with Thora Birch that she wanted to be in this movie, but they thought she'd be better for the Rebecca character that was played by Scarlett Johansson, but she related more with Enid's character even as just whatever she was, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old young woman. And she like went through the whole look and everything and changed it just to convince them. And she actually was thinking and sort of adapted that personality type for like a year and a half, she felt, like while she was making it, and even afterwards she kind of had those sort of like sarcastic, you know, one-liners kind of stuff, like, you know. So it's just interesting how it's like almost art imitating life or something like that, where you have like a little bit Yul Brynner did that with some of his his Western characters. So anyway, I thought I'd just add that. But yeah, love this movie. I mean, someday I may just get sick of it, but Ghost World remains, you know, my favorite thing, and probably till the day I die, it might be my favorite movie ever. So, but thank you for watching. See you next time.